Hello, welcome back to Healing Mama Podcast. I am Val, aka Healing Mama. Today is episode 5, Feel It, Heal It, and Let It Go. So recently, I have had, I would say, 3 people reach out to me in the last week or so regarding what's the first step in healing. So a viewer messaged me, and her question is, Hi Val, just listened to the ego episode on YouTube. I love the way you simplified the way ego works. Are you able to share some of the tools one can use towards healing? I am definitely faith based, working on my own healing. It has been an uncomfortable journey. Girl, I feel you. And that's the thing about this whole healing, inner child healing journey. I feel like that's something that I never want to downplay. I never want to come on here and tell you guys, oh, yeah, it's the easiest thing in the world to heal yourself. It's crazy when you think about it because the steps are pretty easy in the sense of, wow, why didn't I think of that? But in terms of actually going through the process and going through the steps, it is difficult. It can take a toll on you. It is something that you do have to really feel, and you really have to put yourself in a vulnerable position. So she isn't the only one that reached out, but I love the way she worded that question. And I wanted to basically get into that and have that be this episode. I kind of touched on it a little bit last week in the episode where I talked about feel it, heal it, and let it go. So I'm kind of going to play off of that. And I feel like that's something that is really pulling on people's hearts right now. I did have something else planned, but I'm the kind of person that I'm just going to go with what my heart tells me. And this is what my heart tells me. So I have 2 quotes. The first one is, when I let go of what I am, I become what I might be. And I don't know if I've said that one before or if I've read it or whatever, but it just really is something that does hit home. When I let go of what I am, I become what I might be. When we let go of the traumas, when we let go of the pain, when we let go of the hurt, when we let go of the people who disrespect us and we set those boundaries, we become. So if we keep ourselves in those same situations, if we keep ourselves in those same aches and pains and in that same type of environment, how are you ever expected to grow? How are you ever supposed to be the person that you're meant to be if you keep yourself in that dirty soil? And so let go of that so you can become who you're supposed to become. Another quote is, let it hurt, let it heal, let it go. And we'll kind of get into those steps here, so I won't dive into that one too much. And the last one is, letting go gives us freedom, and freedom is the only condition for happiness. And I love that one because it's not money. Money doesn't buy happiness. Your job doesn't buy happiness. Your situation, your family, the person that you're with doesn't bring you happiness. Happiness comes from within. So give yourself the freedom and let go so you can be that truly happy person. He was on this path to healing, and for as long as I could remember, I was always trying to look for self-help books or videos, ways to fix myself. And I say fix, right? Because it's surface level fix. I didn't think that I needed to dive deep and uncover. And, a lot of the times therapy works for some people. Therapy didn't work for me because I feel like when you're ready to heal, then you're going to give it 110%. So I have a client that I'm working with, and I was telling this client, I can see the efforts that you put in, and I can also see when you don't. And so you're only going to get out of this experience in terms of shadow work and inner child healing what you put into it. So if you're not putting in 110%, you're not going to get that. And I feel like I half-assed it for so long. I don't necessarily know if it was half-assing it or if I truly was blind to the fact of what I needed to do, or maybe not even blind to the fact, right? Maybe it's just uncomfortable. But as I grew and as I searched and as I was looking for this healing, that's when I started to open myself up to inner child shadow work. So if you would have told me 10 years ago, yeah, inner child shadow work, I would have brushed it off, right? Because it sounds hippy dippy. And in terms of the Latino culture, we hear shadow work and we're like, what the heck? So I probably would have brushed it off. And so I feel like for so long, just never opened myself up to deeper avenues to where I really had to feel it. And so in therapy, yeah, you touch base on it. You scratch the surface level, I should say. And you kind of dive into it, but I mean, it's never really anything deeper than surface level. At least for me, that's my experience. Everybody has different experiences. And so when I went into inner child healing, that's kind of when I was like, okay, I really got to sit in this. And it was uncomfortable. Like the comment says, or the message, the DM, she said, it's uncomfortable 100%. So let me backtrack. The very first step to healing, inner child healing, healing yourself, whatever you want to call it. Moving on, setting boundaries, I would say is you have to be ready. You have to want it 100%. Yes, you can start off with, yeah, I want it. I think I'm ready, but I'm not sure yet. You can start off, but the change is not going to be very significant, or it's not something that you're going to see 100%. And at least that's what I believe, because in order for you to see and go full circle on this, I feel like you do have to dive deep. It's all or nothing. And I feel like when we go into the all part, that's when people are like, whoa, no, this is too deep. This is too serious. This is too emotional, and I'm not ready for it. So the very first step is, I would say, being ready for it, knowing, you know what, I just don't want to live like this anymore. I can't take this. I don't want to live like this. I'm unhappy. I'm angry, frustrated, whatever the case is. And you're just like, you know what, this life is, I'm not living. I'm miserable. And I feel like once you hit that space, you're like, okay, I'm willing and ready to do whatever I need to do to move on to the next step and change. So that was it for me. And again, in the beginning, it was half-assed. It was like, I think I'm ready. And so that's when it was like the reading and the trying the different avenues, the looking at videos, but not really I wanted to read a book and it taught me how to fix myself. And that was the end of it. I didn't want to put in any work other than reading. And so I feel like, to me, that's half-assing it, right? I wanted it to be simple. I wanted it to be easy. I wanted it to be painless. And that's definitely not what this journey is, but I can tell you it's worth the feeling. It's worth putting yourself in that uncomfortable, awkward position, the position of feeling and hurting again. Because once you do, it's like the quote says, you're going to feel it, you're going to heal it, and you're going to let it go. And so I feel like we avoid the pain, we avoid the uncomfortableness because nobody wants to sit in uncomfort. Nobody wants to sit there and remind themselves of what we tried our best, what our brains subconsciously try to keep us from remembering. And so we delay our healing, we delay that process because we do not want to feel that. We don't want to feel that pain. We don't want to remember it. We want to stash it away. And that is what eats at us. That's what causes our triggers. That's what causes our reactions to what we do on a day-to-day basis. So when you are ready, like I said, that's the first step, is being ready. I would say that that's step 0. Be ready. And if you can be ready 100%, that's my suggestion. But if, hey, you need to start at 25, 50%, then that's better than nothing. I just don't want you to feel like, okay, well, I'm starting and I'm giving it 25, 50%, but yet you're expecting 100 in terms of what you're seeing in change. I want you to be realistic with yourself. I want you to be honest with yourself. And then the second step is the feeling it. That is the uncomfortable part. That is where you're really bringing up these traumas and you're sitting in it. And I'll tell you, when I sat in my traumas, when I sat in my pain, when I brought up the situations, when I looked at little Val, what she went through, what I was continuing to make her go through, I cried. I cried so hard. I was so embarrassed at the end of it. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I don't cry like this. And she's like, no, this is breakthrough. And so when you feel it and you're working through those emotions and you're looking at it from a different perspective, and you're like, wow, would I want my child or somebody that I love to feel the pain that little me is going through? And so the way I'll explain it is, when you're feeling it, I'll give you an example of myself. I felt unloved. I felt unworthy. I felt not good enough. And so when we sit there and we're working through shadow work. And so I'm not telling you everybody has to do shadow work, but I do highly recommend it if you feel like that's something that is pulling at your heartstrings and you can dive into and invest in yourself, because it is an investment. It's not free. Um, because the people that are working with you are experienced in getting people through this and experienced in getting themselves through this. And so it is an investment. So you would have to see it as an investment in yourself. But once you are ready to invest, if this is what your heart calls you to do, you do have to, like I said, sit in these situations. And so when I looked at it and we were going through it, I looked at it at first as my kids. And so, she was walking me through the shadow works, and everybody's situations are going to be different, right? Just because mine was I don't feel good enough, I didn't feel loved. Maybe you felt loved growing up. Maybe you felt like you had the perfect household, but at school you were bullied. Maybe you were going through issues on the side with, sexual abuse or whatever the case is, some kind of abuse. Everybody's situation is different. So everybody's shadow work is going to look different. Not one single experience is going to look the same. And so when I sat there and I looked at it and she said, is little Val worthless? And I was like, no, she's not. No. Is she not loved? Do you love her? And so when I started to look at it and really start to look at little me as I still have that little me inside of me. I will always have little Val inside of me. And so do I want to hurt her? Do I want to continue to put her in situations or in places that she feels less than and not protect her? And so that's really the feeling it, the uncomfortable side of it. And the good thing is, once you do put yourself in that vulnerable, uncomfortable position, you are able to look deeper and see that you do have the key to reparenting yourself. So, in a sense, this whole healing journey is through steps. You're going to feel it, you're going to heal it. And by letting go, it's the reparenting, right? You're going to reparent, you're going to let go, and you're going to tell yourself, you are loved. I am loved. I am enough. I am worthy. And in the beginning, you don't feel it. You don't feel like you're worthy. You don't feel like you're enough. You tell yourself, like, hey, I don't want little me to feel this way. But it does take time, right? Because our brains have built into us for so long habits, the way that we live, the walls that we've built up to protect ourselves. I use that lightly because we're not protecting ourselves if we're not setting boundaries and we just continue to keep ourselves in it. So our brain is like, hey, we're protecting her. We're going to stash this emotion away. We're going to stash this feeling, this memory, whatever it is. We're going to stash it away and we're just going to bury it deep down inside. But the feeling of it, the hurt of it, the pain of it is never going to go away. So she's not going to remember. The memory's not always going to come up, but the feeling is always going to live inside of her. And so that is how we respond as adults. And a lot of the times when you look at situations where somebody is unhappy, a lot of the times you can see little them and how they are acting out. I wasn't able to see it before, but now that I've worked on myself and I've been working on myself, I can see in certain situations when people are unhappy or they want things their way, I can see little versions of them. And I could see, like, okay, this person is feeling triggered, so they're acting out. But you don't have to do that. You can heal it and you can move on and you can make choices now with more awareness and decisions now with more awareness and more confidence, and doing it from a place of healing versus a place of hurt because we've stashed those emotions inside of us, those memories inside of us, and we don't want to feel it. And so we hold on to it. And a lot of the times, I would say a part two to all of this is not just necessarily feeling it, healing it, and letting it go, right? Because sometimes a part of the healing is letting go of people. And so sometimes it's not just the emotion. It's not just letting go of the emotion. It's letting go of people. And I feel like that is the scary one. It was easier for me to let go of emotions that I had held on to because they're emotions. I'm like, you know what? These are bad feelings, bad thoughts. Like, I'm going to release them. But the letting go of people that you love, the setting boundaries, the hey, it's going to get lonely. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's not going to get lonely. And lonely in the sense of we're so used to living and thriving in unhealthy, toxic relationships because that's what we've allowed ourselves to do for so long, that once we cut those relationships off, our brains are used to having those people in our life. Our brains are used to those patterns. And so it's like I told my husband the other day, him and I were talking about it, and I said, you know what? Our minds have built however many years you've been on this earth. Let's say I'm 35. Let's say I started getting trauma as soon as I was 4, 5, 3, whatever the case is, right? And I started feeling those traumas. My brain had started to change and it had started to evolve and it started to morph into a brain that wasn't developing properly based on traumas and based on events. And so it was doing things differently than if you aren't experiencing traumas. And so for 35 years of my life, for most of my life, my brain was working one way. And now that I am working through healing and I'm working through trauma, I am now able to look back and see how much my brain was telling me, like, this isn't worth it. Like, just let it go. Like, the negative self talk, it's easy to believe that because I did it for so long. So, when I was trying to stop those patterns, it was really hard. It's really hard to break those. And that's why I always want to tell people this process is not going to be easy. I promise you. It's one of the hardest things that I've ever had to do, but it is so worth it. It is so worth it. You see changes in you, people see changes in you. And when people see changes in you, they question it. They want to know what's different because they want that. They crave that. And they're like, hey, help me. Like, how did you do this? Because at the end of the day, nobody wants to hurt. Nobody wants to go through pain. Nobody wants to go through these feelings. And we get to a point to where we're like, hey, this is done. This is it. I don't want to do this. But it's something that I do want for everybody. And the hardest part for me as a coach is when I talk to people, not instantly going into like a coach mode and just being able to listen, right? In the sense of like the people that I love. If I meet a stranger and they're talking to me, I can listen all day, every day. But with my loved ones, my family, when they're telling me about their hurt, their pain, their feelings, I know I'm like, hey, I have a key. I have a key. Like, let me help you. Let me help you. And they're like, hey, calm down, healing mama. Like, I didn't ask. So that is the hardest part for me because I'm like, hey, I know that this can work. It's like somebody has a chronic illness and you're like, hey, this medication works. It makes a difference. And they're like, no, I'm not ready for it yet. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. And so the hard part for me is respecting that they're not ready. I can't push somebody into being ready. But when you are ready, I'm here and I'm here to hold a place for you in my heart. I'm here to hold your hand. I'm here to listen and to help you in any kind of way. And so when I get these messages of like, hey, I think I'm ready. Like, what's the first step? It brings so much joy to my heart because I'm like, you know what? Here's another person that doesn't have to live in sadness, that doesn't have to live in a victim mentality, that doesn't have to feel self loathing, that can live in freedom, can look at their lives and be like, wow, why didn't I do this sooner? Why didn't I stop? And I'll tell you why, because I know why. I didn't want to feel the hurt. It was easier for me to brush it away and to be angry than to sit in the pain, sit in the uncomfort and heal. And so I feel like a lot of the times it's easier for us to be angry than just to feel. I would say this journey is one that as much as it is healing, it's self-love. And I have never loved myself more than I do now. And when I say love myself, it's in a different term. When I used to think like, do I love myself? It used to be like, do I think I'm a bad bee? Like, oh, am I that one? And now it's, do I love little me? Am I taking care of myself? Am I respecting myself enough to keep myself out of environments or situations that I know are not good for me? Am I talking to myself respectfully? And what I mean by that is like, there will be times where I'll be like, oh, I'm so stupid. And I'm like, wait, no, I'm not. And my husband laughs because I will do that out loud. Like, I'm like, damn, I'm so stupid. I'm like, no, no, I'm not. I'm not. I'm smart. I'm smart. And I fix it and he'll laugh at me. And I'm like, it sounds funny, but I'm talking to little me right now. So just mind your business. That's all. Just mind your business. And so that's what it is. Self-love for me is, do I love myself enough to respect myself, to keep myself out of toxic relationships? Do I love myself enough to set boundaries? Do I love myself enough to speak good into myself, to speak love, peace, positivity, abundance into my life because your words have power. And a lot of people don't think that. They think, it's bull. But no, your words have power. Your words have meaning. They carry weight to them. And so if I say I'm stupid, I'm telling little me I'm stupid, I'm dumb. And no, I'm not. I know that I'm smart. I know that little Val is strong and confident. And that is something that I'm learning to change. And so this healing journey is going to be ever changing. And there's steps on top of steps on top of steps. But these are the main steps to healing. And then they kind of dive into their little subcategories. And that's why I would highly recommend that you do work with somebody who is an inner child healing practitioner or a shadow worker, a shadow therapist, because I do feel like that's when you can dive into the subcategories, because I can't sit here on a podcast and work with you one-on-one as much as I could. I would love that. But like I said, I do have certifications now to do inner child healing. And if it's something that you want to look into, go ahead and shoot me an email at healingmamapodcast@gmail.com. Or you could DM me and I'll be more than happy to answer any questions, help along the way if I can. But yeah, I would say to answer that question, what's the steps? What's the first step? The first step is knowing, are you ready? Do you feel like it's time? Are you done living the life that you feel is just draining, exhausting? You're just existing. You're not living. Secondly, are you ready to feel it? Like truly feel it, putting yourself in a vulnerable position to be able to open up to little you and to be able to see little you as, like I said, a child, somebody that you love, somebody that you care for. And are you willing to put in the work to heal it? And are you willing to reparent yourself? Because once you do all that, then those subcategories of it, letting go and learning to rewire your brain and working through it and becoming the person that you want to be, the best version of yourself, then all of that comes with those steps. And so I hope that that makes sense. I hope that I've shed light in some kind of way. Of course, if you have any questions, continue to DM me. I love it. I love the support. I love the questions. I love the reaching out and just like, hey, thanks for putting this out there. I learned something today. Or, hey, you know what? I don't necessarily agree with you. I'm good with those too. So I appreciate the love and the support. And thank you all from the bottom of my heart. I send you so much love, peace, joy, light. And until next time, I hope you guys have a great weekend. Bye.